Lou Classic live on FloTrack. Phil Grove bringing you all the action and hopefully some post-race interviews on this battle-tested national championship caliber course. This is the Division I and nationally ranked D2 and NAIA competition. The teams to watch: Grand Valley State, they were in box number 19, Wisconsin on the outside in 33. We will get checkpoints at 2.1K and also 3.9, in addition to the 6 kilometer mat, which is right next to the finish line. So they'll have an exciting last 2K loop around here. After the long start, which is a little uphill for about the first 200 meters, and then they moved into that downhill segment that they're in right now. Definitely some rolling terrain here. No real steep climbs on EP Tom Sawyer, but a really nice park layout. I had the opportunity to run a little bit of the 6K yesterday as they prepared for some elementary school races in this large gathering. They said the largest east of the Mississippi for cross-country running here in the U.S. As you get a nice shot of our lead group just a minute and a half into this opening race, the men's 8K gold race. As you see the Badgers from Wisconsin right up front. And one of the things that Jerry Baldus mentioned in our interview yesterday was about being in the right position during a race. And you can see a nice shot there and a little bit of contact in between teammates from Wisconsin. And the Badgers are looking very strong early. Once again, they are ranked number 14 in the country in men's Division I. And we'll expect to see a couple Grand Valley Lakers uniforms up near the front. Tanner Chata and Isaac Harding. Harding, a transfer from the University of Michigan, has a full year of eligibility remaining, kicking off with this cross-country season. Some of the other teams in this opening race: West Texas A&M, a standout individual there, Ezekiel Kipchurcher, and South Alabama, Memphis Marquette, UTEP, Louisville, of course, Detroit Mercy, Miami of Ohio from the Mid-American Conference, Ohio University, and along with a number of NAIA ranked schools, we're 3 minutes in to this race, 3 minutes through the opening kilometer. Once again, that was a slight uphill at the start, then downhill. As you see, they're in the wooded section right now, headed back toward the majority of the spectators gathered here today at EP Tom Sawyer. Nice shot from the lead cart, as we're still seeing some Wisconsin Badgers leading the way in the front group in the men's 8K gold race, the first of 6 college races, live this morning on FloTrack. And I mentioned just a few moments ago the first timing mat, where we'll get a sense of team scoring and also accurate pace on this 8K. Once again, the announcer said just over 3 minutes through the opening kilometer. And they should be approaching the mile mark here momentarily. 4:40. 4:42 at the 1 mile. And they'll make a hard 180 turn and bring it back and do this opening loop once again. So the 2K mark is right after they come out of this loop. And they'll start back up, just that gradual upgrade, and then into the downhill to take them back into the that opening wooded section. This is the start of the busy part of the season for a number of teams. Grand Valley State, this is the first of 5 consecutive weeks that they have meets on their schedule. Now, not all of the starting 7 will be on the line for those events, some of those local collegiate races up in Michigan, but as they prepare for their Division II, hopefully a trip to their national championships, both D2 and D1 are in Florida this year. Tallahassee for Division I at Florida State, and Division II is at St. Leo in Florida. Now, Division III, as we mentioned earlier, they're right here in Louisville, and that's the reason today's silver race is the pre-nats, and the women will be running 6K. The next race up, the women's 5K. And a look at the opening 2K. As you see, a nice shot as they're headed back into the second loop, or the second time around the opening loop. I do see, it looks like some GV uniforms. And that would be Tanner Chatta and Isaac Harding. So Karami Yigo from South Alabama, 5:54 through the opening 2,100 meters. As you see the rundown of the top 42 thus far, there's Yigo. Seth Hirsch from Wisconsin as at least 5 Badgers in the top 18. Wisconsin 68 points, Grand Valley State 118 at 2.1 kilometers, with Miami of Ohio third at 119. And you see there's Tanner Chatta, currently in second place, and his teammate Isaac Harding just a stride or 2 behind him. But then lots of white and red from the Badgers of the Big Ten. Harding was listed in 4th at the 2.1 kilometer mark. As I mentioned a few moments ago, Harding, a transfer from the University of Michigan after COVID brought everything to a screeching halt in March of 2020. And he's done nothing but win a couple of national championships on the track for the Lakers, and Tanner Chatta has been right behind him. Chatta is a third-year athlete eligibility-wise, while Harding is in his final year. In suburban Grand Rapids. There you see them, number 2 and number 3, with 6 Badgers right behind in this league group. Just under 20 runners. Going a little deeper into the 2.1 kilometer standings, Louisville was 4th at 186, Lipscomb 209 in 5th, and Middle Tennessee State at 243. But leading the way, the Badgers from Wisconsin with that tight grouping up front. And freshman Karami Yigo from South Alabama still in the lead.
Karami Yigo now starting to separate, and going with Yigo, the Wisconsin group of 5.
So the Badgers of Wisconsin packing it together as coaches are stressing at this point of the season, with the conference championships not too far down the road in the month of October. And then, of course, the regional meets, where they will dial up the distance for the D1 teams to 10K.
FloTrack stretches out.
So after they come off this second loop, they'll make a hard right and hit that 3,900 meter scoring mat just below 4K. The 8K distance, if you're not familiar with it, just about 150 feet short of 5 miles. Earlier today, I had a chance to talk with Mike McGuire from the Michigan women's team, which will be next up on the course, running a 5K distance. And we talked about that return to normalcy. He said, you know, cross country is a fall sport and we should be running on grass and dirt and such. And we're finally back into the routine of fall and cross country. .4K checkpoint should be coming up just shortly, as they'll be at halfway. And the lead card is going through that 4K area right now. Still a group of about 20 runners. Just around 12 minutes. There they are. A nice shot, and you see the Badgers are, I believe, a half a dozen in red and white in that lead group. So they're making their presence known. They're number 14 ranked in Division I on the men's side. And it was expected to be a little bit of a tussle with Grand Valley. We'll have to see how the Lakers are able to move up in the second half of this race. And the rest of the field of these Division I, Division II, and NAIA schools. A lot of the uniforms coming across your screen now from the NAIA ranks. Cornerstone, they have the number 12 men's team, the number 3 women's team in the NAIA ranks. And there's our lead group, Tanner Chadha, Isaac Harding right there, and they're being shadowed by a pair of Badgers that looks like Olin Hacker.
All right, yeah, every bump is a bump. He's going too fast. Phil can't use the shot.
Up toward the front, there is the rundown of the top 12 runners through 3,900 meters. And that little downhill segment taking them back into the woods. Down toward the 3-mile mark. A 2 weeks ago, Chadha and Harding went 2-3 to one of the top-ranked Division I runners in Morgan Beatlescombe, 14:25 at 3 miles. Still keeping up that strong pace, and they will come through this finish line chute, veer off to the right for the final 2K loop. And again, still setting the pace. Tanner Chata, Isaac Harding, and Karami Yego from South Alabama, but lots of white and red right behind them. Yego was 11:19 through 3.9K. Team-wise, Wisconsin dropped to 62. Grand Valley did make that push in the middle 2 kilometers. They're down to 80 points. And distant third, Lipscomb with 157. So the battle is on. Coming up toward that 6K viewing area, the crowd is gathering around this finish line chute, and they'll see the teams and runners come through in this men's gold race, veer off to the right for the final loop. Wrapping around this finish line area, going back through where they hit that 4K scoring mat. The rest of the top 5, Miami of Ohio with 190, and the host Louisville Cardinals with 192. And you get a nice shot there of Chata wearing the knee-high socks, and his teammate Isaac Harding on his right. Karami Yego on the inside there as they're running 3 across. Yego has been up front during the entire race, so has Chata and Harding. At the 6K, or excuse me, at the 4K, Hacker from Wisconsin, the senior, was number 10 overall. As the Badgers, 62 points. So with their number 1 runner coming in with the number 10 stick, you know they're packing it in tight. And how tight? Less than a 1 second spread at 3.9K. The Lakers, 8 seconds from their first to their 5th. And here comes our lead pack. And it looks like we've reduced it to just under a dozen, but we have Lakers and Badgers as we expected. They take that, you can see they'll veer to the right, the official motioning them away. Tanner Chata stride up on this group. He takes a look over his left shoulder. And a couple Lakers in front of the Badgers. The Battle of the Midwest, D2 versus D1 is on. This is the men's gold race. You're watching live coverage on FloTrack of the 20th annual Live in Lou Cross Country Classic from Louisville and EP Tom Sawyer Park. The first of 6 races today. And it will be a fight to the finish, team-wise and also individually, as you can see that lead group, just over a dozen runners within about 20 meters.
I'm in a weird turn, so it's going to be awkward for me to turn all the way.
Slight upgrade right there, and you can count 6 Badgers within strides of each other.
Go.
And they're just over a kilometer remaining in this race. The course record, it is a new course that was put in place back in October of 2017. Athanas Kyoko from Campbell, who had a tremendous 2021 NCAA track and field campaign at the Louisville Classic in 2019. He went 22:58.5. He's the only runner ever to complete this 8K course at EP Tom Sawyer in under 23 minutes. Jacob Chogi from Middle Tennessee State and his teammate Keegan Chamati also in that same October 5th race, 23 flat and 23:02. the top 20, all under 23-23. And there's our lead group, and a shot back with the rest of the field going across that 6K mat, but it's still Chadha and Harding. In my conversation yesterday with Jerry Baldus, talked about this tough 1-2 punch they have, probably one of the top 1-2 combinations in Division II, if not in the country. You see the Badgers right behind them. And Chadha and Harding looking around. And there is that group. 7 runners for those Wisconsin Badgers. Harding, Chadha, and then there's Olin Hacker.
And then you've got four Wisconsin runners right behind them.
Rowan Ellenberg, Seth Hirsch,
And the Badgers
Evan Bishop, all there. And there goes Harding. Has decided it's his time to make the push for the line. He leaves his teammate to battle the rest of the Badgers, as Harding now has a gap of about 10 meters through the wooded section. They're in the final K of this men's 8K gold race. Live coverage on FloTrack of the 20th annual Live in Lou Cross Country Classic. And you see a sizable gap between first and second. It is Isaac Harding, the senior, in his final year of eligibility, transferred from the University of Michigan, now runs for Grand Valley State. And he is just pulling away from this field. As one of the Gators was having issues, it's out of the way. Clear sailing for Isaac Harding. Harding is just over a 4-minute miler. As I mentioned earlier, had a great D2 track campaign, his first one for Grand Valley State Outdoors. He won the 5,000 in 14:13, finished second in the 10K at 29:09. This is after a pair of seconds in the 3 and 5K indoors at the D2 National Championships in March and May of this year. And those D2 National Outdoor Finals were in Michigan at Grand Valley State. Isaac Harding headed toward the line in victory in the men's gold race. And 23 minutes just coming up on the clock, as he is going to be in the top 20. He takes a look behind him. Here comes Hacker. But Harding has enough. Isaac Harding broke away, built up a big lead. He's going to go under 23:20. So a big fist pump there at the end for Isaac Harding. The next two are Badgers, and then Tanner Chadha, Harding's teammate, in 4th. And Badgers in 5th and 6th. And the rest of the scoring team for the Badgers quickly moving across the mat. And under 24 minutes. So your winner today, Isaac Harding from Grand Valley State. And that tight 1-2 for the D2 squad, not enough to turn back the Badgers of Wisconsin, who have Olin Hacker finishing second and 23:18.1. You see the times right there, as Bob Liking, his teammate, right behind him, just 3 seconds back. Chadha 23:23.7. So once again, coming into today, 23:23 was a top 20 time. So for those athletes, the top 4 today, all going to break into the top 25 all time on this course in Kentucky. So the team scoring, Wisconsin 23, Grand Valley State 37. Those are two powerful programs in D1 and D2. The Lakers are going to be a tremendous force. in the Division II ranks. Their national championship meet again is in Florida, as is the D1 championship. As you see the rest of the finishers today, there is our top 14, all under 23:45.
A good surprise. As I look at
The next race on the schedule will be the women's 5K, and you see the results now. Wisconsin at 24 or 25 now, as these numbers constantly changing as additional athletes and teams finish their scoring. Grand Valley State at 49.
So we do know Wisconsin, obviously, the team champions there with 25 points. Grand Valley.
Eastern Illinois at 120. Lipscomb at 140.
Will be second. We'll get these verified, pass them on. Women's race coming up just under 20 minutes. Liking what you see with the men, you'll enjoy the women's race. One race going to be closed. 5 more among the collegians here at the
Two tremendous team efforts. And you see the effort by one of the athletes making it to the end of this 8K course. Again, a rolling hills here in Louisville, Kentucky at EP Tom Sawyer State Park. Wisconsin, 25 points for the win. They jam 4 in the top 6. 6 in the top 11 for that team score of 26. As the reason for those constantly changing point totals is teams get their 5th runner in, they suddenly become a scoring team and can be recalculated accordingly. 27 minutes now on the clock. So these athletes coming in running, again, sub 5:30 pace for this just under 5 mile distance, 8 kilometers. The women's gold race will be a 5K distance, as many of the programs D1 and D2 like to run the 5K, a little bit shorter distance early on in the season, as they prep for conference, regional, and national championships. 3rd place, Eastern Illinois, currently with 171. Lipscomb, 201. Appalachian State moved up in the final results. They're at 256. UTEP at 312. As a partly sunny day thus far in Louisville, Kentucky. And I know yesterday in my conversation with Jerry Baldus, he mentioned that he was glad his team was running first, but he was hoping for some warm conditions, and that's what they'll be seeing later on in the year with the D2 National Finals down at St. Leo, and the D1 again in Tallahassee at Florida State. Running through the final individual results, again, Isaac Harding making the bold move just past 7 kilometers. The senior from Grand Valley State, 23:16.7, his final time. He gets the number 1 stick for the Lakers. Olin Hacker with a strong final 300 meters, a long last straightaway here on this 8K course in Louisville. He finishes second at 23:18.1. Bob Liking from Wisconsin, a sophomore. Hacker is a senior. He was at 23:21.5. Tanner Chadda, the other half of the 1-2 punch for the Lakers from Grand Valley State. He is a third-year runner, 23:23.7. Evan Bishop, sophomore from Wisconsin, 23:25.9. And Seth Hirsch from the Badgers, a senior, 23:26.1. Then Dustin Hatfield from Eastern Illinois. Josh Park, the senior from OU, the Bobcat, in 8th. Anthony Camerari